Welcome, you're tuned into the Deep Dive. And for all of you keeping up with current affairs for the UPSC exams, well, this is for you. Today, April 16th, 2025, we're bringing you part 1 of our look at the key events from yesterday, April 15th. It's all curated with your prep in mind.
Exactly. And some of these topics might ring a bell, maybe from previous discussions, so a good chance for revision. Others will be completely new.
Right, think of it as a focus briefing. We've got a really diverse set of topics today. We'll start with conservation of the cheetahs moving to Gandhi Sarar.
Then we'll look back at a key historical figure, Sir Sankaran Nair.
After that, economics, the RBI's repo rate decision. And some geopolitics with rare earth magnets.
And still more to come. Invasive species like the Asian hornet, World Chagas Disease Day.
Plus, a hydroelectric project controversy, the Yimkhiung tribes situation.
Don't forget the stellar model for the power sector, and some pretty wild physics with Plastic Ice VII.
Quite a mix. So yeah, let's dive right in. First up, cheetahs. There's news about moving some from Kuno National Park to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, both in Madhya Pradesh.
That's right. The official approval came through from the Cheetah Project Steering Committee. You know, the body set up by the NTCA back in May 2023.
Ah, okay. So it's a planned move.
Very much so. It's strategic. Remember, Project Cheetah kicked off in 2022.
Yes, with the animals brought in from Namibia and South Africa, 8 and 12, respectively.
Right. And look, there have been challenges. We know there were some sad losses. 8 adults, 5 cubs reported. It's incredibly difficult, this kind of reintroduction.
Absolutely. So this move to Gandhi Sagar, is it about spreading the risk?
Essentially, yes. It's part of a bigger strategy. The aim is to establish what's called a meta-population, maybe 60 to 70 cheetahs across a wider area.
Connecting Kuno and Gandhi Sagar. Sort of a landscape approach.
Precisely. Linking up habitats across Madhya Pradesh and even into Rajasthan gives the population more resilience, against disease or local issues.
Makes sense. Not putting all your cheetahs in one basket, so to speak. What's the current population in Kuno?
Right now, reports say 26 cheetahs. 17 are apparently roaming wild, and 9 are still in enclosures.
And do we know which ones are moving? The wild ones or the ones in enclosures?
That detail hasn't been specified yet, actually. Whether they'll take from the free-ranging group or the ones still acclimatizing. Different implications either way, of course.
And Gandhi Sagar's, is it ready for them? Prey-wise.
The officials seem confident. They list species like chinkara, chosingha, nilgai, chittle. A decent prey base seems to be there, which is obviously critical.
It is. Cheetahs are fascinating biologically, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anything key for aspirants to know?
Oh, definitely. They breed year-round, though maybe a peak in the rainy season. Females mature around 20-24 months. Males a bit later, 24-30 months.
Gestation periods.
About 90-95 days. Litters are typically 3 to 5 cubs. And their sounds, chirps, barks, not roars like other big cats.
Right. And they're mostly solitary.
Mostly, yes. They mark territory with urine, rubbing, scratches, and that speed. Up to 120 kilometers per hour, 0 to 100 in just 3 seconds. Incredible.
Wow. How successful are they when hunting?
Their technique involves tripping prey with those semi-retractable claws. Success rate, around 40 to 50%, which is pretty decent for a large predator.
Okay. Crucial for UPSC, their conservation status.
Key point. IUCN Red List status is vulnerable. In India, they're under Schedule 2 of the Wildlife Protection Act, 1972.
And internationally.
See, that's Appendix 1. That means no international commercial trade.
But we should quickly differentiate between African and Asiatic cheetahs.
Absolutely vital. The ones in India are African cheetahs, which are vulnerable. Asiatic cheetahs are critically endangered, found only in a tiny population in Iran.
Physically different, too.
Yeah, generally Asiatic cheetahs are a bit smaller, maybe slenderer, lighter coat. African ones are often larger, more robust. It's a really important conservation effort, this project, relevant for the environment and ecology syllabus.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift to history now. Sir Sankaran Nair, the PM recently paid tribute, linking him to the Jallianwala Bagh anniversary.
Yes, a really significant figure, Sir Sankaran Nair, born 1857 in Kerala. What really defines him is his immense moral courage and conviction against colonial injustice, often from within the system.
Educated at Presidency College, Madras, started in law.
Right, and rose rapidly. He became the youngest INC president back in 1897 and still the only Malayali president.
Impressive. He was involved in education policy, too.
Yes, on a Raleigh University commission in 1902. The British honored him too, CIE, in 1904, knighted in 1912, became a permanent judge in Madras High Court in 1908, known for progressive judgments.
And then? the Viceroy's Executive Council.
Appointed in 1915, handling the education portfolio. So yes, deep inside the administration.
But still advocating for self-rule. That's quite the balancing act.
It really is. He used that position. He was a key voice pushing for reforms like the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms in 1919, which brought in diarchy.
But Jallianwala Bagh changed everything for him.
It was the breaking point, April 13th, 1919. The massacre led him to resign from the Viceroy's Council, a hugely powerful act of protest.
What was the impact of that resignation?
It sent shockwaves. It certainly added pressure that led to some changes, lifting press censorship in Punjab, ending martial law, and, importantly, setting up the Hunter Commission to investigate.
And then came the famous defamation trial against Michael O'Dwyer.
Yes, that's a landmark case. Nair wrote a book, Gandhian Anarchy, in 1922. In it, he blamed O'Dwyer, who was lieutenant governor of Punjab during the massacre, saying his repressive policies led to it.
And O'Dwyer sued him in England.
He did, for defamation. The trial was quite long, about 5.5 weeks.
What happened?
The English jury found in favor of O'Dwyer, 11-1. The one dissenter was Harold Lasky, the political theorist. Nair was ordered to pay a fine and costs.
Did he pay?
O'Dwyer apparently offered to waive the costs if Nair apologized. Nair refused, point blank.
Speaks volumes about his principles. So he lost the case, but
Yeah.
did it achieve anything?
In a way, yes. Even though he lost legally, the trial brought international attention to Jallianwala Bagh and the harshness of British rule. It definitely helped galvanize the nationalist cause and expose the system's bias.
He passed away in 1934. A lasting legacy.
Absolutely. A symbol of resistance and integrity. His story is still being told, books, films planned, crucial figure for understanding the freedom struggle, modern Indian history for the UPSC.
Okay, let's switch gears completely. Economics. The repo rate.
Oh.
RBI made a move.
That's the latest news, yes. The Reserve Bank of India has cut the repo rate by 25 basis points.
Bringing it down to
6.00%. Remember, a basis point is 1/100%, so 0.25% cut.
Right. So for everyone listening, just remind us what the repo rate actually is.
Sure. Simply put, it's the rate at which the RBI lends money short-term to commercial banks. They lend against government securities. It's the RBI's main tool, really, for managing liquidity in the banking system.
And controlling inflation, influencing the economy.
Exactly. By changing the rate, RBI makes it cheaper or more expensive for banks to borrow. That influences how much money is out there, which affects loan rates, deposit rates, inflation, growth, everything.
So this cut to 6%. What are the likely immediate effects?
Well, lower borrowing costs for banks, first off. That should mean they can offer cheaper loans, business loans, home loans, etc. More competitive rates, anyway.
And on the flip side, for savers.
Yeah, possibly lower interest rates on new fixed deposits. Banks have cheaper funds, so they might offer less on deposit.
So potentially more borrowing, more spending.
Yeah.
A boost for the economy.
That's the general idea. It enhances credit flow, which can stimulate investment and consumption. Sectors like real estate, infrastructure, they often benefit because financing becomes more affordable.
Is there a specific context for this cut? Global factors, maybe?
It seems so. The commentary suggests this accommodative stance. The rate cut is partly to support the Indian economy, given some global uncertainties, like potential impacts from increased U.S. tariffs affecting exports.
Trying to stimulate domestic activity to offset external risks.
That seems to be the thinking.
And the key rates aspirants should note now.
Repo rate is now 6.00%. And the reverse repo rate, that's the rate RBI pays banks to park funds with it, is 3.35% as of April 15th, 2025. Definitely a core concept for the UPSC economics paper.
Okay. Now, rare earth magnets. China suspending exports from some ports. Sounds serious.
It has major geopolitical implications, yes. These aren't just any magnets, they're high-performance permanent magnets made from rare earth elements like neodymium, samarium, dysprosium.
And they're used in, well, almost everything modern.
Pretty much. Electric vehicles, wind turbines, crucial military tech missile guidance, radar systems, drones, robotics, the list goes on. They're vital for efficiency and miniaturization.
And China's role is dominant.
Hugely dominant. They control something like 80% of the global refining capacity for rare earths. That gives them immense leverage over the supply chain.
So any suspension, even partial, creates ripples.
Big ripples. It raises immediate concerns about supply chain security, especially for countries heavily reliant on imports, like the U.S. It impacts both civilian tech and military readiness.
Let's clarify rare earth elements, or REs. What are they exactly?
Okay, it's a group of 17 elements on the periodic table. Scandium, yttrium, plus the 15 lanthanides.
Are they actually rare?
Not necessarily in terms of crustal abundance. Some are more common than, say, lead, but they're often dispersed, not found in concentrated, easily mined deposits. And separating them is complex and, frankly, often environmentally challenging.
And they get classified further, light and heavy.
Yes. LRE's light rare earth are typically atomic numbers 57 to 63, lanthanum to europium. HRE's heavy rare earths are 64 to 71, gadolinium to lutetium, plus scandium and yttrium often get grouped with the heavies due to similar properties.
This is definitely at the intersection of tech, economics, geopolitics.
Absolutely. Very relevant for UPSC sections on international relations, economy, and science and tech. A critical issue to watch.
Moving on to an ecological issue. The Asian hornet in the UK. Sounds like sightings are increasing.
Dramatically so, according to reports for 2025. And the really worrying part is DNA studies have confirmed they're now breeding and successfully overwintering there. That's a big step towards establishment.
Okay, first things first, this isn't the murder hornet.
Correct. That was the Asian giant hornet, Vespa mandarinia. This is the Asian hornet, Vespa velutina, also called the yellow-legged hornet. Smaller, but still a major threat, especially to bees.
What's the main ecological impact?
They're predators, primarily targeting social bees and wasps. Honeybees are a major food source. They have this tactic of hovering outside hives, picking off returning foragers.
That sounds devastating for bee colonies.
It can be. Sustained predation weakens or even destroys colonies. And since honeybees are vital pollinators, there are knock-on effects for agriculture and ecosystems.
How do we identify them? Key features.
Adults are around 25 millimeters long. Look for the black velvety thorax, that distinctive bright orange-yellow band on the fourth segment of the abdomen, and the bright yellow leg tips. They do have a painful sting and can be aggressive near their nests.
How did they get to Europe originally?
The story goes, likely via a shipment of Chinese pottery to France back in 2004, a single fertilized queen, probably.
And they spread rapidly from there.
Incredibly fast. They're now in about 15 European countries. France alone has reported, hundreds of thousands of nests. First UK sighting was 2016, but this year sounds like a real escalation.
Another example of invasive species impact, relevant for environment and ecology in UPSC, especially biodiversity.
Definitely. It highlights the risks of global trade and movement.
Okay, let's turn to global health. World Chagas Disease Day was observed recently.
Oh, yes. April 14th, 2025. It's an annual awareness day for Chagas, which is a neglected tropical disease.
What was the focus this year?
The theme for 2025 was prevent, control, care, everyone's role in Chagas disease, really emphasizing collective action awareness, prevention, better care. The first official day was only back in 2020.
And the disease has a significant global impact.
Huge. Estimates suggest over 7 million people infected worldwide, maybe over 100 million at risk. And it causes, tragically, around 10,000 to 12,000 deaths each year.
Remind us what Chagas disease actually is.
It's caused by a protozoan parasite, Trypanosoma cruzi, also called American trypanosomiasis.
How is it transmitted mainly?
Primarily through the feces of infected triatomine bugs, often called kissing bugs, because they tend to bite near the face. The bug defecates near the bite, and the parasite enters when the person scratches.
Are there other ways?
Yes, less common but important. Blood transfusions, organ transplants, mother-to-child transmission during pregnancy, sometimes contaminated food or lab accidents.
Why is it called the silent disease?
Because many infected people show no symptoms for years, even decades, during the chronic phase. It also disproportionately affects poor, marginalized populations, making it silenced in terms of public health focus sometimes.
Where is it mostly found?
It's endemic in 21 Latin American countries. But with migration, it's increasingly seen in the U.S., Europe, other regions too.
Is there treatment?
Yes, anti-parasitic drugs like benznidazole can be effective, especially if given early in the infection.
And the situation in India?
Important to state, Chagas is not endemic in India. Cases are extremely rare, usually linked to travel or residence in endemic areas. But the day highlights global health inequalities relevant for UPSC health topics.
Good to clarify. Now back to India and a project controversy. The Sillahalla pump storage hydroelectric project in the Nilgiris. Opposition is growing.
Yes, intensified opposition reported in April 2025. Farmers, tribal groups, environmentalists, they're protesting against this project.
What is the project exactly?
It's a big one by the Tamil Nadu Green Energy Corporation Limited, or TNGECL. AIM is 1,000 milliW of power, primarily to meet peak demand and help integrate renewable energy. Pump storage is basically a big battery using water.
Pump water up when power is cheap, release it to generate power when demand is high.
That's the principle. This one's planned for the Nilgiris district in the Kunda region. It's near sensitive areas like Silent Valley and Mukruthi National Parks.
Okay. And the plan involves?
2 dams, tunnels, about 2.8-kilometer head race, 1.56-kilometer tail race, an underground powerhouse, and surface storage.
So what are the locals' main concerns?
Land submergence is a huge one. Estimates are around 1,000 acres of farmland affecting maybe 3,000 farmers, plus about 500 acres of forest land.
Compensation issues, too.
Yes, there's mention of joint PATA's shared land titles, making fair compensation tricky, and apparently there's lingering distrust from unresolved compensation for past road projects in the area.
So it's environment, livelihood, and trust issues all rolled into one.
That sums it up. Serious concerns about impacts and fairness.
How does this compare to other projects?
Well, the Greenco Group is building what's set to be India's largest pumped storage project in Madhya Pradesh, 1,440 milligovers, potentially expandable. So these are large-scale undertakings. Sillahalla is a classic development versus environment case study, really relevant for UPSC.
Indeed. Let's move northeast now to Nagaland and the Yimkhiung tribe. They're protesting border fencing.
That's right. The Yimkhiung Tribal Council held a major protest in Pungro town. They're opposing the government's plan to fence the Indo-Myanmar border and scrap the Free Movement Regime, the FMR.
Tell us about the Yimkhiung tribe.
They're a major Naga tribe living mainly in Nagaland's Kifire district, but also across the border in Myanmar. Clan-based villages, strong oral history, festivals. Like many border communities, the line drawn by colonials divided their ancestral lands.
So the border cuts right through their community.
Exactly. Their language is Yimkhiung, Sino-Tibetan family. Their big festival is Sumkamyu, post-harvest.
And the FMR allowed them to cross easily.
It did. Until February 2024, people within 16 kilometers, later 10 kilometers of the border could cross visa-free for visits, trade, family ties. Ending the FMR and fencing the 1,643-kilometer border 215 kilometers in Nagaland is seen as severing those vital links.
So the protest is about maintaining those cross-border connections.
Primarily, yes. They've submitted a memorandum asking the government to reverse the decision.
Does the name Yimkhiung have a meaning?
It's understood to mean something like the ones who have reached their place of choice, or searched, arrived, and found, reflects their history. They are one of Nagaland's 17 major tribes, by the way. The official name was changed from Yimchunker to Yimkhiung in 2021.
Another complex issue involving borders, tribal rights, culture, relevant for internal security, social issues, neighborhood policy in UPSC.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's look at a tech development. The Stellar model launched by the Central Electricity Authority.
Yes, on April 11th, 2025. Stellar is an indigenous software tool for power sector planning, a big step for self-reliance in this area.
Stellar. What's the full name and purpose?
It stands for State-of-the-Art, Totally Indigenously Developed Resource Adequacy Model. Its job is to help states and distribution companies, the DISCOMs, plan better, specifically to meet the resource adequacy guidelines the Ministry of Power put out in June 2023.
Resource adequacy.
Yeah.
Meaning ensuring enough power supply.
Exactly. Ensuring reliable supply to meet future demand by optimally planning everything: generation, transmission, storage, even demand response.
What can it do?
Key features. It allows integrated planning across all those elements, helps states meet the official requirements, which are revised annually. It's meant to be user-friendly, transparent, developed in India.
Is it available to everyone?
It's being given free to states and DISCOMs. There was collaboration with the Lantau Group and the Asian Development Bank in its development. It's a significant tool for India's energy security and infrastructure planning, important for UPSC prep in those areas.
This sounds promising. Finally, let's get into some really cutting-edge science. Plastic Ice VII, first direct observation.
Yes, truly groundbreaking stuff. Scientists have directly observed this strange phase of water. It's thought to exist deep inside icy planets and moons.
Plastic ice? How can ice be plastic?
Okay, plastic here refers to its plasticity, its ability to deform under pressure without breaking, like clay or soft metal. Not like the plastic bottles.
Ah, okay. So what makes it ice then?
It's still crystalline. The water molecules are fixed in a specific arrangement, a cubic lattice. That makes it solid. But, and here's the weird part, the molecules within that fixed lattice can rotate almost freely, like in a liquid.
A solid lattice with liquid-like rotation inside. Bizarre. How did they see this?
At the Institut Lalangin in Grenoble, they used a powerful neutron beam. They hit water with extreme conditions, heated it to 326 Celsius under pressure up to 60,000 bars. That's like 28 times the pressure in the Mariana Trench.
Wow. And the neutrons revealed.
The way the neutrons scattered showed both the fixed cubic structure and the rapid molecular rotation. Confirmed it was plastic ice VII.
How does this compare to regular ice or other high-pressure ice like ice VII?
Regular ice on Earth is I hexagonal lattice. Ice VII is a denser cubic form that appears above 20,000 bars. Plastic ice VII is a phase of ice VII appearing at even higher pressures, above 30,000 bars, and high temperatures, above 177 C, where the molecules get enough energy to spin within the lattice.
What does this mean for understanding other planets?
It's huge for planetary science. Ice VII, and therefore plastic ice VII, likely makes up large parts of the mantles of icy moons like Europa or Ganymede, and maybe planets like Neptune or Uranus, or even exoplanets. Its properties, like plasticity, affect how we model their interiors, heat flow, geology, maybe even the potential for subsurface oceans and life.
Fascinating stuff. Really pushes our understanding. Relevant for science and tech and UPSC, especially space science.
Definitely. A really cool discovery.
Right, that brings us to the end of part one of this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from cheetah conservation and historical figures to economics, geopolitics, ecology, and even planetary science.
We hope this overview of key events from April 15th has been useful for your UPSC preparation heading into April 16th, 2025. And remember, some topics were refreshers, reinforcing earlier points.
We certainly hope you found it informative. If you did, please do give us a like and maybe subscribe to the deep dive. It genuinely helps us keep bringing you this content.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in part 2.